Hi, welcome back to the channel. Today we will start our Asimov Foundation series, and I'm going to start with some background information on the author. Isaac Asimov was born in Russia in 1920. He was raised in Brooklyn after his family emigrated from the Soviet Union when he was a child. Asimov displayed an early fascination with science and storytelling. He earned a PhD in biochemistry from Columbia University and later taught at Boston University. His writing career spans more than 500 books across genres, including fiction, popular science, history, and essays. Best known for his Foundation series and Robot series, Asimov helped shape the intellectual and ethical landscape of 20th century science fiction, blending clear prose with deep curiosity about logic, progress, and human nature. He died in 1992 as one of the most influential figures in modern science fiction. Asimov wrote the early Foundation stories in the 40s and 50s, mostly short stories stitched into a trilogy. He didn't expect to return to them. Decades later, in the 1980s, his publisher and readers kept asking for more. By then, Asimov was a literary institution, and he went on to write Foundation's Edge and Foundation and Earth. Still later, near the end of his life, he circled back to the beginning. Prelude to Foundation and Forward, the Foundation were prequels, filling in Hari Seldon's life and giving the series a sense of symmetry. We will be looking at the novels from the 50s for now. Today we will start with Foundation from 1951. The novel begins in the twilight years of the Galactic Empire, a sprawling interstellar civilization that has governed humanity for millennia. The story follows Hari Seldon, a mathematician who develops psychohistory, a science that predicts the behavior of large populations with statistical accuracy. Seldon foresees the Empire's imminent collapse and a coming 30,000-year dark age. To reduce this chaos to just a millennium, he creates a plan. Establish the Foundation, a repository of all human knowledge at the far edge of the galaxy. Seldon gathers scientists, engineers, and scholars and sends them to the remote planet Terminus under the guise of compiling the Encyclopedia Galactica. After Seldon's death, his holographic recordings appear at key crises to guide the Foundation's progress, revealing that the true goal isn't merely preservation of knowledge, but the creation of a new empire. As neighboring star systems fall into barbarism, the Foundation survives by transforming its scientific superiority into religious influence. Its technology is presented as divine power, and its scientists become priests who maintain this faith-based control. Through a combination of diplomacy and manipulation, Terminus gains dominance over the nearby regions.
Humanity isn't rational, and somehow I don't think that I'm going to persuade many people to be rational. For instance, right now, once again, they're talking about there being a wave of mysticism that's taking over the United States. More and more people are interested in astrology, in the new way, the new something of new age, I guess they call it, and various assorted nonsenses of that sort. And I don't think there's a new recrudescence of that sort of thing. I think it's always there. I think that people have never stopped believing in anything that has no germ of sense to it.
then why do you want to mislead us? If we are so totally irrational and always have been, why do you want to teach with rationality, the rational solution of problems, as the basis of what you do right?
For two reasons. In the first place, I have to live with myself. I feel that since I do appreciate rationality, I do believe I have a kind of ability to be a skeptic, to insist on evidence, to want things to make sense. I have the duty to say so, just as some people feel that they have the call to spread God's word. I believe that if there's such a thing as God's word, it's rationality, and I have the call to spread it. And secondly, even though I don't think I'll convert the world to rationality, I may influence an occasional person here and there.
When Asimov imagined the crumbling galactic empire of Foundation, he was writing about his faith in reason and rationalism. A scientist long before he was a novelist, Asimov believed the human mind could chart order in even the most chaotic systems. That conviction seeps into Hari Seldon's psychohistory, a discipline that turns the rise and fall of civilizations into a solvable equation. In Seldon's plan, Asimov found his own secular gospel, that logic and knowledge applied collectively might outlast superstition and war. In his writing, reason becomes both weapon and creed. The Foundation's early leaders use science disguised as religion to keep nearby worlds from sliding into barbarism. A calculated lie that Asimov treats with wry sympathy. It's his way of admitting that pure rationality still needs story to survive among the irrational. The characters who endure, Seldon, Hardin, and Mallow, are not cold technocrats, but steady minds who navigate passion without being consumed by it. Through them, Asimov sketches a kind of moral geometry, intellect as empathy scaled to the size of history. Beneath the space politics and galactic wars, Foundation is based on one simple hope, that humanity armed with curiosity and reason might learn to save itself from itself. Even though Hari Seldon is the conceptual center of Foundation, he appears primarily as a distant figure, the architect whose plan governs events long after his death. The story is episodic, with different protagonists representing distinct eras in the Foundation's evolution. Hari Seldon, the visionary mathematician whose psychohistorical predictions guide humanity's destiny, he symbolizes rational foresight and the faith in scientific determinism. Salvor Hardin, the first mayor of Terminus, Hardin embodies political cunning and realpolitik. He learns to turn religion and diplomacy into tools of control, favoring intellect over force. Hober Mallow, a master trader and later leader, Mallow represents the next phase of the Foundation's power, commerce as the new vehicle of empire. His pragmatism and strategic genius mark the transition from faith-based influence to economic dominance. The shifting protagonists reflect Asimov's choice to center not individuals but systems of thought, political, economic, and scientific, that drive the fate of civilizations. The book includes various time jumps. We suddenly make a jump of decades or even hundreds of years at a time. Those time jumps can confuse the reader. Asimov uses excerpts from the fictional Encyclopedia Galactica as epigraphs to frame the novel's events with the detached authority of future historians. Some of these epigraphs mark the time jumps, which somewhat helps the reader. There are 4 important themes that stood out to me in this book. First, the fall and rebirth of civilization. At its heart, Foundation mirrors Edward Gibbon's The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, reimagining it on a galactic scale. Asimov examines how knowledge, institutions, and adaptability determine whether societies survive, collapse, or succumb to chaos. Secondly, science as salvation. Psychohistory embodies the Enlightenment ideal that reason and mathematics can master even the most chaotic human forces. Yet Asimov tempers this optimism with irony. The Foundation's leaders often rely on politics and deceit, not pure science, to survive. Thirdly, we have determinism versus free will. Seldon's plan implies a deterministic view of history, but individual choices, especially those of Hardin and Mallow, show that agency still matters. This tension between fate and freedom underpins the series' intellectual depth. Fourth, we have power and manipulation. The Foundation's rise is marked by a moral ambiguity. It uses religion, commerce, and science not only for progress but also for control. Asimov probes the ethical limits of utilitarian governance. The book was written during the early Cold War, and it reflects the 1940s and 50s fascination with systems theory, social planning, and the power of knowledge. Asimov's prose is clear, brisk, and cerebral. His focus is on dialogue and ideas rather than emotional depth or lyrical description. The style serves his purpose, to dramatize intellect in action. The episodic structure, originally serialized in Astounding Science Fiction magazine, gives the novel a quasi-historical rhythm, each story a chronicle of crisis and adaptation. Most of this book really feels like reading a textbook on statecraft. The stories are short vignettes plucked from history, showcasing powerful casts that are in control momentarily, only to be outwitted by an upcoming opponent a bit further on in history. Asimov's detached tone and focus on rational problem solving exemplifies the golden age of science fiction, when the genre celebrated science as humanity's guiding light. Upon publication, Foundation was hailed for its scope and originality. Critics admired its intellectual ambition and world-building, though some noted its lack of emotional intimacy. Over time, its influence became immense. The series inspired later works, ranging from Frank Herbert's Dune to the strategy of Star Wars' Galactic Empire. In 1966, the Foundation series won the Hugo Award for Best All-Time Series, surpassing even The Lord of the Rings. The streaming service Apple TV Plus launched a high-budget live-action adaptation of the novel series, simply titled Foundation, in September 2021. After seeing a trailer, I personally decided against watching it. I rather stick to the original text myself. For those of you interested in the history of science fiction, I'm going to include a link to a presentation that Asimov gave on the topic. You can find the link to that in the description box below. Foundation endures because it asks timeless questions. Can human behavior be predicted? Can knowledge save us from ourselves? Asimov's answer, presented through the cool logic of psychohistory, is both hopeful and cautionary. Civilization may fall, but ideas, disciplined, shared, and passed forward, remain the seeds of renewal. Readers looking for a single, continuous plot in Foundation will likely be disappointed because the book isn't structured as a conventional novel. It's a collection of loosely connected stories spanning centuries. Each section introduces new characters, crises and settings, with only the overarching idea of Hari Seldon's psychohistory and the rise of the Foundation linking them together. So there really isn't a central protagonist or linear narrative to follow. Instead, Asimov constructs a historical mosaic showing how ideas and not individuals shape civilization over time. The result feels more, as I said, like reading a chronicle of societal evolution than a straightforward adventure or character-driven story. Personally, my interest is stirred for a few reasons. It is a classic, one should have read it, at least the 3 books of the Foundation series. Secondly, the copy I got is an antique, and I just like the smell of old books. Thirdly, after I stopped looking for a central plot line and got used to the idea of this being a collection of vignettes on statecraft, I find them rather amusing and intriguing, and there are some quite ironic nuggets to discover as well. So I will proceed with the second book, Foundation and Empire, in my next episode. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please give it a like, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.